You're listening to Body Talk, Healthy Living Sonoma Style. I'm Heather Morgan, Nutrition and Healthy Living Coach, and I invite you to stay tuned for the next hour. Get educated, get inspired, and become a healthier you. All right, Sonoma, you are listening to Body Talk. I am so glad you joined me here today. I am so excited for my guest, Dr. Lisa Koche from Spectra Wellness. She's actually in Florida, believe it or not. She's out of Tampa, Florida, and she is nationally known she's a healer, and I don't use that word lightly. Lisa is someone that I've known professionally now for a while, and the word that comes to mind is healer. She does amazing work out of her clinic in Tampa. But the good news is for all of our listeners, she's written a book. And so much of what she does and much of the great work that she does and has done over the years is compiled now into a book. And I love the title, Get Lit. And there's a reason for that title. And I'm going to let her tell you, and we're going to talk about it. But that's just a little teaser for you. Why would her book be called Get Lit? And I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to continue this conversation with Dr. Koche because she is, like I said, she's one of those people, you meet people, or I meet a lot of professionals. I meet a lot of health professionals in the industry, and Lisa is one that I have continued to be in contact with because she's brilliant. I love knowing her as a human, as a professional, and I really want you all to stay tuned because you're going to really enjoy learning and listening from her today. And I think you're going to feel that that the words of wisdom and what you learned today is going to help move you along your path of personal health. And just, healing and being in touch with yourself. She's one of those people that everybody wants to be around because she's so gifted in all that she does. So I'm going to go see if she's on the line here for us. Hello, Dr. Koche. Are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Yay. Well, your ears must be ringing because I was just telling the listeners all the great and wonderful things about you.
Awesome. I'm so thrilled to be on.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time for our community today. Really do appreciate it. And I was letting the community know that I've interviewed literally hundreds of health professionals over the last 10 years. And our community has really come accustomed to learning and hearing from professionals who are doing amazing things. And I was letting them know you come across people in your life who are special and who are there for a reason. They always say for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I feel like you're all of those things. And I'm sure your patients do too. And I'm just so thrilled to have you on with me today for my audience to get to know you better and to talk about your book. So thanks for joining.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for that heartwarming welcome. And your audience, I'm sure, is well aware how special you are. So I'm very privileged and thrilled to join you today.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. So I let the audience know that you are phoning in from Tampa. And I also let them know that, the good news is that, because you have a clinic in Tampa, people can access you through your website, through your book now. And so I really wanted to kind of just start off by hearing a little bit about your story, because your story is so powerful and it really does help people to understand better where you're coming from as a healer. So do you mind just sharing a little bit about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I was blessed enough at 15 to even be wise at that point and know that what was happening, albeit not very fun, had some type of higher purpose. So, here we are many years later finding that purpose. But I was diagnosed, felt fine, went for a physical for camp when I was in ninth grade, and they called me out of class to tell me that my hemoglobin was 7, and went on to diagnose me with childhood form of leukemia that's called ALL. Luckily, with that kind of huge life-changing event, it was a very treatable and chemo-responsive form of leukemia. So started chemotherapy, ended up all through high school. It was a 3-year protocol, not having hair probably being the worst part, and the fat steroid face was not the best yearbook pick, but I made the best out of it, and was really blessed not to end up in the hospital. So all my treatment was outpatient, and I had a great attitude and did well, and then was able to go off to college. My hair had just started to grow back. Met my first boyfriend, whose dad was an OBGYN, who said, "Have you had your first pap smear?" And I had not, just because I had been so sick all that time. And I went for my first pap smear to the man who actually delivered me, which was really cool. So my mom was his first patient. So as traumatizing as that procedure is the first time, or any time, he stopped in the middle of it, and I could tell something was wrong. So it turned out at that point I was about to start my junior year in college, and they call it sanctuary site, but I had leukemic cells on an ovary. He thought it was just going to be a cyst. So instead of going back for my junior year to Atlanta, my parents kind of panicked, sent me to Sloan Kettering. They took me on, the lead researcher there, because they'd never seen it relapse in the ovary. So I was back to hardcore chemo again for another year and a half. I managed to take a class at night. My uncle had a studio apartment in the city, so we got really lucky. My parents were having to split up, one with me, one staying home with my sisters. I only ended up in the hospital once, but about halfway through that treatment, I woke up in the middle of the night with severe shortness of breath and was found to be in chemo-induced heart failure. So that was a while ago, and here's where integrative medicine starts to pop in. My uncle at the time was a podiatrist, and my parents weren't against integrative. They just had a sick kid, so they were doing whatever doctors told them to do. And my uncle sent me coenzyme Q10 and L-carnitine in the mail and just said, take these.
Nice.
And those are, for your listeners, the most researched supplements for heart failure. And this was 25 years ago almost, where it wasn't known at all. I had no idea what they were. And every time I'd run out of the bottle, the next bottle would come. So I don't know if it was that, or just that I had a 20-year-old heart, or the medicine they put me on. But I rebounded almost back up to normal. So a normal ejection fraction is 60 to 65, and when it first happened, I was 20, and then I was able to heal to about 50 to 55. So that was within the first year. I was able to go back to college. Back for finish on time, take my MCATs, get into medical school. My first interview, the guy who was interviewing me, I said, I want to take care of kids with cancer. I've got to figure this out, and I want to go and make sure that I can just share my experiences. And he looked at me and said, that is so not what you want to do. And he said, are you sure? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, he's right. That is not what I want to do. I want to prevent cancer. I'm going to take the opposite path for sure.
Nice.
So,
I love it.
So he helped a bit, and I went through medical school, picked internal medicine because it seemed like the broadest way to try to figure out why the heck people got sick in the first place, because I just kept asking why. Why are we following this protocol, and why do we give this, and why did that person get this and not this person? And literally nobody had any answers. It was just, this is just what we do. That was kind of the answer. So I said, well, that's not going to be enough for me. So decided to try and prevent not just cancer, but heart disease. Started focusing on that in my early career, working on weight loss, worked with a gastric bypass surgeon trying to help, prevent heart disease, but also just weight loss and we developed a comprehensive clinic with a nutritionist and a psychologist because the patients needed to be looked at from all angles. And so that was a really cool experience because I found a lot of these patients were not eating bonbons in the closet. I mean, they were eating really clean, and they could not get their weight under control. So we developed this comprehensive center, which still my clinic still has the same name, which is Spectra, because it was a spectrum of healers, and we did a spectrum of different services. And I worked closely with that population, and what happened was they were getting, after gastric bypass, their hormones and their thyroid and all kinds of things getting screwed up, even if they were losing weight. And along the same time, I was starting to have some other issues pop up. And so I was starting to dig a little bit deeper and attended a conference on more integrative thyroid and realized that even the speaker at that particular conference didn't know why his protocols were working. So I was very much on the hunt, and got lucky enough to get into an anti-aging fellowship with several amazing teachers. I had, at that point, myself developed Hashimoto's, was actually able to get pregnant with one ovary and 5 years of chemo.
Amazing.
Was able to get pregnant on the first shot with my daughter.
Amazing.
And did pretty well. My heart held up till the very end and got a little bit overloaded at the end, but they let me try, go on to deliver. And and then it went back to probably 45 to 50, but I could still run and walk, run short distances and speed walk, and I felt pretty good. And after about a year after I had her is when I got all kinds of immune system issues, Hashimoto's, psoriasis, sinus problems, just not feeling, top of the game. And I had already been studying out of the box, and I had already been really listening to my patients who I knew we were doing everything for them, and they still weren't feeling good. We had them on a healthy meal plan. We were working on mindset to a certain degree, and the scale wasn't budging. So as I was learning nutrition and all of these other things through the training and fellowship that I was getting, I was starting to see improvements in my own body and in the patients. And at that point, I was blessed enough to team up with a naturopath who practices muscle testing or kinesiology. And he was an unbelievable healer who was able to get me really on the path of probably what the damage the chemo had done, and just, life with toxins and viruses and leaky gut and my thyroid and everything, just helping me to get it back in shape. And between the two of us started a phenomenal collaboration. So he and I have worked together now for the past 14 years.
Wow.
And I got my body well enough. I always wanted another kid. Wasn't going to do fertility because that just seemed like more stuff than my poor body needed after I was blessed enough to have one child. And I was able, after I kept working and working, to get pregnant on my own again at 41.
Oh my goodness!
With one ovary and 5 years of chemo. And
amazing.
There I was, and this little guy. Unfortunately, my heart kind of pooped out at about 4 months, so they were watching me really closely, and I did run into an issue at delivery where it was general anesthesia, and my ejection fraction was back down to 20.
Oh boy!
And I didn't quite rebound completely from that, and so that was 7 years ago. And so my practice at this point, we had probably 4,000 patients, just booming. I was teaming up with a chiropractor who was doing some cutting-edge energy work, upper cervical, that we can talk about later.
Sure.
I had a baby and an 8, my kids were 8 years apart, a baby and a 9-year-old who was playing competitive soccer, so type A, 7-day-a-week tax attorney husband, and, I was just pretty much overwhelmed. So kind of started looking out of the box for the next thing that was going to be the answer. Got a lot of benefit from the ketogenic diet and low carb, and how potentially it could improve and trigger the formation of brand new mitochondria, which which is what gets killed, part of the cell that gets killed off by the chemo and what the heart really needs to function appropriately.
That's right.
And I was able to get myself stabilized fairly well until about 2 years ago, and out of the blue, my hormones shifted early, and I had a lot of stress, as I alluded to, and I one day we were on the beach and I couldn't walk. And it had kind of crept up on me, but I went to the hospital and my ejection fraction was 15.
Oh, my goodness.
So this was less than 2 years ago. My cardiologist buddy brought in the transplant cardiologist. It was really, really scary. And he went to bat for me. He put in a device that is a type of pacemaker that helps the heart synchronize a little bit better. And I was able to get out of the woods to an ejection fraction of about 30 to 35. And since that time, in less than 2 years, I've almost completely healed my heart the rest of the way. So my ejection fraction, as of yesterday, was 50. I'm training with a trainer. I'm going to try and compete because I've always wanted to be an actual athlete.
Wow.
And somehow through that entire journey, I was able to write my first book. So
I know. You're amazing.
How that happened, I don't really know, but here we are.
Okay. Well, this is a perfect place for us to, we have to take a break and go to commercial, but your story is amazing and you're amazing. And I would love to pick up after the break, if possible, with your discussion to talk a little bit more about the mitochondria and then your book, Get Lit, and the title and how that all kind of comes together, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So, Dr. Koche, if you'll just hang tight, you don't have to do anything. Sure. We're going to go to break and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
All right, great.
Thank you.
You're listening to Body Talk with Heather Morgan, sponsored by
EA's CrossFit. More information at 415-314-1399 or at eascrossfit.com.
Whole Foods Market, located in the Sonoma Marketplace at 201 West Napa Street. You can contact them at 707-938-8500 or visit them on the web at wholefoodsmarket.com. Myers Financial, located at 670 West Napa Street in Sonoma. Myers Financial is a boutique wealth management firm. So whether you need personal or business financial management, wealth management, tax planning, or income tax preparation, Myers Financial is here to help. For more information, you can call Lillian at 800-734-1124 or visit their website at myersfinancial.com.
Well, it's Friday, and that means sunshine. Well, that too. We've got Kathleen Hill at 10, followed by Tasty Nuggets. Just to start off your weekend in the right mood, we do have sunshine today. Isn't that nice? The high near 59 degrees. Some clouds will be rolling back in this evening, low around 42. On Saturday, partly sunny, the high near 60, and a slight chance of showers Saturday night, the low around 46. And this is your Voice of the Valley, ksvy.org, worldwide.
All right, everyone, and we are back. You're listening to Body Talk Radio. I'm Heather Morgan, and I'm joined today by Dr. Lisa Koche, and she's the author of the book Get Lit. I was talking about this earlier, and we've posted it on our social page. I think people are showing a lot of interest in it. And basically, the title is Get Lit, Simple Answers to Overcome Exhaustion, Escape Stress, Harness limitless energy, and ignite your inner athlete. Who doesn't want those things, Dr. Koche?
Definitely. I am on the journey, and I still am. So I just, always wanted to share my journey on a larger scale. We have a really busy practice in Tampa, but I can still only see, 20 people a day max. So my dream to kind of be able and reach many, many more became a reality when a colleague of mine told me that he wanted to help me get my programs and my experience out into more hands.
Yes, because it is amazing, and the book is amazing, and I hope everybody will make this part of their collection, because it truly is something that you'll refer to over and over and over again. So tell us about the book, the title, and yeah, just tell us about it.
Absolutely. So I've been honing my sort of past 15 years of experience into simpler and simpler terms, because I get it. Like I told you, I have a busy, crazy life. I see patients all day, and I know what this society is now, and I know we all have books on our bookshelf and bookcase and beside the bed that we want to get through, and we don't quite get there. So my goal was to be succinct, to meet people wherever they are on their journey, and to provide really simple ways to start making some transformation. When you get your hands on the book, the feedback I've been getting is that no matter what, you can, it's a quick read if you want to read it all at once. People are referring back to it. You can check things off. It's very user friendly, and it's fun as well. So it's divided into 3 different sections. There's a body section, a fuel section, and a mind section. So I can walk your listeners really fast through that. So in the body section, it's all in a question and answer format, so that you just get very quick bits of information and
love it.
Can kind of find where you lie and how certain symptoms may pertain to you. And we go through everything from just the importance of hydration and movement to more complex things like detoxification, and even one of my favorite topics, which is energy work and what that really means, and how to find a practitioner near you that could help. And at the end of each section, I summarize with really great graphics as to what you need to do step by step. So that is in the body piece. And then for the fuel part, I mentioned earlier the benefits of being in a state of ketosis or trying the ketogenic diet. I will say it is definitely not something I recommend for people to remain in long term. I think it can be. There's a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of poor dietary choices that are, running around in the ketogenic space. So I'm pretty clear about 2 main concepts in the book, which is, number 1, you want to eat lit foods, as I like to describe them, which are foods that have more energy, phytonutrients, just more bang for the buck in their nutritional value.
Life force energy.
Yes, life force energy for sure. And when I talk about the name of the book, I'll pull that in. But the dim foods are things your listeners know, processed foods and sugar and gluten and dairy. And we pull out eggs for a few weeks as well. Okay. So I made that is sort of the principle number 1 for the fuel. And then principle number 2 is I only require people to be aware of the total grams of carbohydrates they eat in a day. So I think it's a really important exercise, even just for 2 or 3 days, to get like a MyFitnessPal app or one of these different apps you can easily find on your phone, and just put in what you eat, because you might be really surprised as to foods that you don't think are unhealthy, how many grams of carbs they can have. And most people feel better limiting their carbohydrates to somewhere at least below 100 grams. And I provide 3 levels. So there's keto in the book. If you wanted to try keto, there is low carb, which is under 50, and then very low carb under 50, and then low carb, which is under 75. Okay. And I have simple shopping lists with the carb content in them, and the other macronutrients, which are proteins and fats, can get very confusing for people. And I just give you a range, so you just have to check it off, and simple eyeball ways to tell how many grams you've had instead of having to measure it all out. And the nutritionist I worked with, who is a friend, I had hired a couple of different ones to help with the meal plan. And we finally sat down and looked at each other and we said, okay, how many people really want another recipe?
True.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Because we go and we don't ever have all the ingredients,
Right.
and then we go and buy them,
Right.
and then they sit in our cabinet or they sit in the fridge, and they go bad. So
Well, that's true.
instead, we made it into very just being creative. You pick a base, you pick a protein, you pick a lit food, and you pick a good fat, and you
Love
pick
it.
a veggie.
I love
And
it.
we gave you 4 ways to cook your protein and 4 ways to cook the base, and it's done. So you could pretty much open your fridge right now and find the ingredients you would need for this
Yes.
plan.
And that was one of the things that I really, really liked about it, because it's so much easier to just be able to put a plate together and know that it's what you should be eating versus, following a recipe. I mean, it makes so much more sense to people to be able to, okay, I can shop this list, I can have it in the house, and then I can do whatever combinations I feel like doing.
Right, or whatever's about to go bad. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to eat that,
Yes.
So I would rather finish that right now. Or, I could put this in the freezer and let me, I only have 10 minutes because the kids are starving or whatever. So I took, several of the leading keto books that I really love, and went through and kept calculating the macros, and I realized it's really just it's just a serving, and it doesn't have to be this complicated, and people are going to achieve their goal. So
Love it.
the checklist and the tracker in the back of the book helps people kind of stay organized, and the whole plan in the back is turnkey and ready to go, and it's called Ignite. But the
Love it.
mind piece, before I get into that, the last part of the actual meat of the book is the mind piece, which is has become my biggest passion, I'd say, over the past couple of years. And I created something called the LIT scale, where we look at thought patterns, relationships, and self-care, and you can find where you are on the scale, and most people kind of lie between 2 different areas, and I call them everything from just flipping on to dim to medium to the goal, which is to be lit. And that's a person who listens to their body and isn't tempted anymore, and strong and healthy, and synchronicities are flying and always evolving. So we're on the way trying to go up the lit scale, and that piece comes with affirmations and visualizations and different ideas on how you can step into that power from wherever you are. I mean, even if you have never heard of, meditation, never tried it, are scared off by it, there's easier things you can do that just take a second. So I took all my years of experience with so many different people and just tried to provide an answer for everybody, no matter where you are.
It really is just such an amazing tool to have around the house. And I'm glad that you brought up about the ketogenic diet and ketosis, because I know people hear about it a lot. Many of my listeners are quite savvy, and many are actually, people in the community listening and that don't know what that means. But I know that, there are some health benefits to it, and your book discusses that, correct?
It does, and it does also tie into the other topic that we wanted to get to, which is about the mitochondria. So,
excellent.
That's how I got turned on to the diet in the first place.
So based on the way that you practice all of your experiences, I mean, you are triple board certified. You are, incredibly accomplished, and you've also lived having compromised health. Based on all of that, you've come to this sort of way of approaching looking at a patient. Can you tell us about that?
So I think how I approach looking at a patient, I will always ask the patient, and I think the biggest piece here is that your listeners and all of us, our goal is to be empowered in our own health. So if somebody comes into me, I will ask them, what are the 3 things that bother you the most on a day-to-day basis, so that we can make sure that we address it. And I always start out by, tell me about when you were a kid. Did you have lots of antibiotics? Did you have a lot of stress in your home? And did you ever have mono? And let's go through stressful periods throughout your life and what happened at that point, because the mind piece is so closely tied into our energetic, physical, and just generalized health and wellness that if that's not addressed, we can only go so far.
I love it. I mean, you don't, when people attend, when they visit with their doctor and they're not well and they know something's off, it's not, it's pretty rare that the attention they're getting is from the perspective that you are. I just, the word healer comes to mind so often with you and the gifts that you've been blessed with in your life. I mean, this is all so purposeful in the work that you do. I especially love your whole concept of being lit. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. Well, what's really fun is how the name came to be because, I have a teenage daughter, so when we were playing around with letters, I had this idea to develop my first product, which involved things that would help to activate our mitochondria and to help with affirmations and the energy field. So the product that I made is called Lit Drops, and it is part of the Ignite kit that you can find on my website, or you can buy them separately. But what they are is a type of coconut oil, but they have in them essential oils, methylated B12, and light frequencies. So I put different types of energy frequencies into these drops, and the concept is that we're starting to understand more and more that especially our cells, but especially the part of our cells called our mitochondria, seem to react to energy and thought patterns and light. And there's a lot of research now coming out every day on how things like red light therapy or the benefits of actually being in the sun. So the actual word, the word lit, we came up with because we called it light-infused transformation. So the concept was I'm trying to get everybody to work on transforming themselves. And then we just started playing, and I have to say my daughter wasn't thrilled initially because she said, people are going to think you're crazy calling it that.
No, I love it. That's the great part about it.
It's the most fun.
It is.
So I'm redefining what that phrase means, and it's just the empowered, healthy, positive, peaceful, joyous version that we all want to be.
No, absolutely. And it's interesting that you bring up energy medicine because the last few interviews that I've had, just in a row, every doctor that I've interviewed has talked about the importance of energy medicine, and that's not something you commonly hear,
right.
From most doctors, and sometimes it is a little far-reaching for people to understand what that really means. But can you explain a little bit why? I mean, and I love that you said, being out in the sun and how important that is, because all you hear is protect yourself from the sun, stay away from the sun, cover yourself up. But it is so healing. I'm kid you not, after my meningitis, the sun was a big part of my healing.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that's a really great quick story too, because it all ties back into the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is a part of every cell that we have. Technically, red blood cells don't have them, but every other cell does. And what they are, they call them an organelle, but the thought is that they used to be their own organism. They were a bacteria. And millions of years ago, we took them, kind of hijacked them, and put them inside our own cells, and we use them to produce the energy that we need to have any kind of function. So for our heart to beat, our brain to think, our stomachs and our guts to digest, we need the energy that's produced by these mitochondria.
Interesting.
Well, to tie it into the sun, something that's super fascinating is if you take a look, and I was helping one of my kids study biology, and the picture of the plant was part of what she was studying, and the plant has something called the chloroplast, which most of you may remember from biology class.
Yep.
And the crazy part about the chloroplasts, and you can go back and look this up, is they look exactly the same as the human mitochondria.
Wow.
So if you just stop for a second and think about that, and what it means, if we're closer to plants than we realized, what does a plant need? A plant needs to be grounded, like in connection with the earth.
Right.
A plant needs nice, clean water, and a plant desperately needs the sun.
Desperately.
So there is a researcher in New Orleans who is a neurosurgeon. I don't know if you've heard of him, Dr. Jack Cruz.
I have not.
So he's doing some very revolutionary work on the benefits of how the sun's rays, especially early in the morning, how they enter through the eye, which is also kind of nuts.
Yes.
If your listeners can get outside in the morning, sometime before about 9 or 10, and think about charging their body sort of like they charge a phone.
Or a battery, yeah.
Yes. So your feet need to be barefoot and they're plugged into the earth. So just step on the grass because there is definitely electrons and neutralizing energy from the earth. And then that's kind of like the plug. And then your eyes are where you take in the charge and don't stare directly at the sun, obviously.
Right.
You're going to gaze off just a little bit. But the morning sun's rays, which are mostly sort of in the red spectrum, have the ability to activate our mitochondria.
Oh my goodness.
And so
well, I'm just thinking about when I had meningitis, because I literally would go every morning and sit on my back porch where because the sun would rise on that side of the house, and just angle my face up towards the sun. So intuitively I was doing this, but my feet weren't in the grass though.
But still, your body knew that's what you needed.
Yes.
And what's happening now is the mitochondria are finally getting more and more attention, probably only over the past maybe 5 to 10 years, wouldn't you say, Heather? Because
I would say, really the last 5 years. More, but we're finding, just how important, but also too, how many people have damaged mitochondria.
Absolutely, because mitochondria are damaged by everything from stress to toxins to processed food to blue light. And now, what's happening with things like 5G and higher level of these frequencies where, they seem to directly impact the mitochondria's ability to make energy. So I don't like to focus on the doom and gloom side of it. I like to focus on how do we rehab, support, and make more mitochondria. And so that's what really the book is also about, is optimizing the fuel and your body and the mindset, because those things all directly impact not only the mitochondrial function of the ones that you already have, but things like potentially exogenous ketones, which are a product you can drink, or being in a ketogenic state can actually turn on the formation of brand new mitochondria, which I didn't even know was possible.
No.
I didn't know that you could make new ones, and you absolutely can. That's the beauty of the body.
Interesting. So the ketogenic diet is very beneficial to mitochondria and in the health of mitochondrial health, right?
Yeah, so the idea is that being in a state of ketosis, but it doesn't need to be sustained. So, I would recommend people, I think it's typically worth trying as long as you do it with very clean, you're very, very careful about the types of foods that you are using. Because you could find sites online and different places that just talk about, all the meat and cheese and fried stuff you can get your hands on, and that is not going to fix anything. But if you can get, grass-fed, clean-sourced meats, wild fish, really very easy on the dairy, but a little bit of more grass-fed sourced ghee or butter, a little bit of that, and lots of good fats of olive oil and coconut oil and avocado, and then make sure you're still getting in tons of greens and vegetables, then getting your body to become metabolically flexible, which means if you eat that way with very minimal carbs for long enough, your body will learn how to use the fat as a fuel source. And most people find they feel a lot better, more energized,
Oh, yeah.
not as hungry, more focused. And after about 6 to 8 weeks, it's probably enough to trigger more this mitochondrial biogenesis or new mitochondria. And then you can kind of cycle in and out of ketosis, which is, I think, a little bit more of a practical and safer way to do it.
And, it's not typical that, and then we have to go to break, but it's not typical that a physician would look at mitochondrial damage. Say if a patient came in and they had an autoimmune condition, or they have, a weight issue, or they, blood sugar regulating challenges. It's not typical that a doctor would say, well, let's look at your mitochondria, correct?
Well, perfect question, because I've been saying now for the past several years, how the heck do we look at these mitochondria?
Right.
And I think I'm on to an answer, so we can save that for after the break if you want.
I love it. Yes, let's do that. So we're going to go take a break, everyone, and then we will be right back with Dr. Lisa Koche, author of Get Lit. Be right back.
Thanks.
You're listening to Body Talk with Heather Morgan, sponsored by
EA's CrossFit. More information at 415-314-1399 or at eascrossfit.com.
Whole Foods Market, located in the Sonoma Marketplace at 201 West Napa Street. You can contact them at 707-938-8500 or visit them on the web at wholefoodsmarket.com. Myers Financial, located at 670 West Napa Street in Sonoma. Myers Financial is a boutique wealth management firm. So whether you need personal or business financial management, wealth management, tax planning, or income tax preparation, Myers Financial is here to help. For more information, you can call Lillian at 800-734-1124 or visit their website at myersfinancial.com. Programming for KSVY is brought to you in part by the Tina Schoen Group, located at Sotheby's International Realty, Body Best Collision Center, and Sonoma Hills Retirement Community. This health moment is brought to you in part by Sonoma Valley Hospital.
Our life is essentially the sum of our habits. What habits would you like to stop doing? What habits would you like to start? Make a short, realistic list. It takes about a month of consistent effort to adopt a new habit, so keep trying. As you successfully integrate wellness into your lifestyle, you will begin to feel the difference, if only slowly at first.
All right, everyone, we are back. You're listening to Body Talk Radio. I'm Heather Morgan, joined today by Dr. Lisa Koche, author of the book that you must own, Get Lit. And before we jump back into it, Dr. Koche, I want to know, where can people get your book? What would the best way to be? Amazon?
Absolutely. So Amazon, and if you want to go on drlisakoche.com, there's a few of the podcasts I've been on and a direct link to order the book there as well. And you can get even more info on my website, which is Spectra Wellness, SPECTRA.
Okay, great.
Wellness.com. And that's where we are on Instagram. It's Spectra Wellness Solutions, and on Facebook as well.
SPECTRA.
Yeah, Spectral Wellness Solutions on Facebook, and on Instagram we are Spectral Wellness Solutions as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so yes, we were talking about mitochondrial health, and, how do you look to see if somebody's mitochondria is healthy or if it's impacting their health? What do you do?
Okay, so the bottom line is, because what we're now understanding about mitochondria is every disease that you can think of has a mitochondrial dysfunction as part of it.
Right.
I heard one good analogy, which was, we've been sitting here treating the cells when there's a hole in the hull, or something like that. Just with adrenals and thyroid and detoxing and all of that, we absolutely need to do that. But if we don't fix these engines that are making the energy in the first place, we're missing the boat. So how do we diagnose? There has been some ways of testing that have been out for a while, but they're complicated and look at different steps in what's called the Krebs cycle, which is just the energy cycle, the part of the mitochondria that makes the energy. So that's called organic acid testing, and that is available. But what I'm super excited about, and I have not yet got my hands on it, I think came in the mail today, is something called MitoSwab, which is a test.
Oh.
A test they've been using apparently on kids with mitochondrial diseases. So there are some conditions where you have very obvious dysfunction from birth when the mitochondria genetically don't work. And so there is a swab that can tell the level of the mitochondrial function that has been really reserved in the pediatric population. Wow. So I just reached out, and actually one of the owners of the company and lead researchers is coming down to our clinic this week.
Amazing.
So I'm going to be testing out, it's apparently measuring the electron transport chain, which dysfunction in different parts of that, which is another
Incredible.
two main parts of the mitochondria. That's one of them.
Yeah.
So we will have more info on that soon enough, and my goal is to measure that and then treat people with different types of modalities. You can look at removing things that are bothering the mitochondria, like helping to protect from EMF, like we talked about.
Right. Toxins.
Detoxing, yes, getting people more neutral pH, trying to clean up the food and even potentially trigger biogenesis with ketosis or exogenous ketone salts, which is a supplement, and then be able to just do some of these treatment protocols and then reevaluate with a swab. So that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I recently read, I was actually reading something, I think it was MS, and they were talking about the importance of addressing the mitochondria, even helping with patients with MS and various autoimmune conditions. So as you mentioned, just about any disease process you could look at, there's likely to be some mitochondrial issues going on. And would you say, I guess this is another way to look at it, would you say that caring for your mitochondrial health and whatever that would look like can help to prevent or at least improve health and or a disease condition?
Oh, I think across the board, 100%. Even just it will slow aging, so it's not even It's not even diseases or health. It's just you want to. If you feel great and you want to stay that way,
overall wellness.
You need to pay attention to the part of the body that's making the energy, and the fact that unfortunately the environment we live in, between stress and chemicals in our food and in our air, and the frequencies that we cannot see that are the EMF, it's a bit harder than it used to be to take care of the mitochondria. And the fact that you've got somebody really vocal, like this neurosurgeon, and more of us kind of waking up that, hey, maybe we're actually supposed to be running around outside barefoot, not on our phone and in the sun. Like that doesn't seem like such a foreign concept when there's this huge bright light in the sky on this planet that we're on.
Oh, it's so true. So very true. So I like that. And, we just have a couple minutes left. So I think it's really a good idea to sort of leave people with that concept, that idea of, knowing that you do have this energy powerhouse in the cells that is so important and for so long didn't really get a whole lot of attention when it came to health and wellness. But when you think of prevention in terms of, again, and this is something I talk about a lot on this show, is, your lifestyle, your habits, right? Your daily living. There are things you can do to help support the very, very, very important mitochondria. If you were to say 3 things that you can do to support your mitochondria on a daily basis, what would it be?
Okay, so I'd say probably number 1 is try to reconnect with the earth and get outside in the sun. I would kind of I'm all about
Amen.
making life easy. As you guys will see when you read my book, I'm into multitasking, so you can do those at the same time, and it doesn't need to take more than a couple minutes. So that would probably be number one. Number two, I will just lump all of that lifestyle into one, which just meaning hydration and, really critically thinking about when you're putting something in your mouth, is this nourishing me or draining me? Just even for a second, if you can entertain that concept. And the third, which is honestly probably one of the most important one, is what is going on in your thoughts. And we've heard so much about, the importance of mindset and meditation, and people talk about it all the time. But I think if you look at the idea that the mitochondria was once its own bacteria and able to sense its environment,
seriously,
I think it's just a matter of time before we're able to track and understand that the thoughts that we have are actually a frequency that is talking to ourselves, and it's talking through the mitochondria. So if
Incredible.
we, just think about the plant, right? You talk to a plant nicely and it grows beautifully, and or Masaru Emoto's crystal studies, and how, the crystal looks terrible if you call it a fool, and the most important person that's talking to us is our own thoughts about ourselves. So self-love.
This is the perfect ending to my series of talks that I've had with doctors lately about energy medicine. We are energetic beings. I love that, it's so true. You are what you think and what you eat, pretty much, right?
Yes.
And and so I love that, loving on your mitochondria is going to involve, having healthy thoughts, positive thoughts. Think about it. You can have thoughts that energize you and excite you, or you can have thoughts that drain you and bring you down, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of them are subconscious. So just being present in the moment, and again, is this thought nourishing me or draining me,
Yes.
And then just change your state, turn on some music, get an affirmation in your head, use the lit drops.
Absolutely. And I find the quickest way to switch my mood is to go to gratitude. Just instantly start, giving thanks for all the wonderful things. If you're in a funk or a mood, or someone's irritating you, just switch to gratitude. It's a great way to just start to get yourself out of that hill.
Absolutely. One of the highest frequencies of all.
Yes. Well, Dr. Koche, it's been a pleasure having you join us today. Again, can you please tell our listeners your website?
Yes, it's Spectra Wellness Solutions. And we're in Tampa, and that's Spectral Wellness Solutions on Instagram and Facebook as well. And you can also find my book on Amazon under Get Lit, or drlisakoche.com.
I love it. Everybody, you need this book. Trust me, you will love it. You'll be so glad you have it. Thanks again, Dr. Koche. We're so grateful that you joined us today, and wish you the very best, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast, and your listeners are so lucky to have you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everyone, I'll see you back here a week from right now.
Have a good weekend, everyone.